when you start filming and you realize that your sweatshirt matches the wall behind you. So I'm so looking forward to already Epistolary January. I have a really hard time saying the word epistolary. Sometimes the T doesn't come out. It is epistolary, but I usually say epistolary, like the T isn't even there, but the T is supposed to be there. Anyways, I was thinking on what books I would recommend, and there are so many exhaustive lists out there of books that you could read in all sorts of genres, as far as classical, sci-fi. You could read fantasy, you could read anything. Epistolary really exists in all genres and formats of books. But I started to think, what books would I reread? And if I could only pick a few that I have read that I would want to reread, and actually one of them I'm rereading right now, what would those be? And I'm going to start with number 3. And they're all 3 classical books. And so that shouldn't be a big surprise since I do read a lot of classics. But number 3 would be Frankenstein. And this book is one that I forget sometimes is an epistolary novel. And all of these, since they're classics and the author is dead, would fall under the lost letters category, which means we have lost the author of the book. Although there can be contemporary novels, of course, where we've lost the author. But Mary Shelley does such a good job of weaving this book in such a creepy way, but the events of it are relayed through letter writing technique. And I think what resonated with me so much about Frankenstein is Frankenstein was not setting out to create something evil. And he wasn't willing to take the responsibility of what he had created. And if there aren't all sorts of applications to our own lives from that and the world around us that we live in today, I don't know what could be a better application. So I really feel like it is applicable from all periods of time. And it's beautifully, deliciously creepy, bordering on horrific without going too far. So number 2 is the one that I'm actually reading right now. And because it was time to read this book with my daughter, we are reading through the Anne books together. And that would be Anne of Windy Poplars. Now, timeline-wise, this comes in the Anne series of books right after Anne of the Island. So I don't want to be too spoilery, but she is in a relationship that most of us want her to have been in now. And she is teaching somewhere away from Green Gables, and she is writing letters describing different vignettes of what's happening in this town where she's teaching to her love. And so it's very fun. Even though it comes number 4, it's 7th in the books that she had written. So she goes back and kind of fills in the timeline a little bit and what Anne was doing at this period of time before what happens in, I guess, Anne's House of Dreams would be next. So there are people that wonder if, because she had written many Anne books by now, Ellen Montgomery was wanting to mix it up a little bit. She may have been a little bit tired of writing them. I don't know how accurate that is. This is not my favorite Anne book, but I do love it. And I think the letter writing works well. It works really well. And there are so many times where the story is coming alive. through, just the way Anne was a writer. So it makes sense she could write very lively letters. The last book is one that I have talked about before, so I don't think anybody would be shocked. And that is The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte. We have this mysterious woman who is the tenant of Wildfell Hall, and there is someone in the neighborhood who takes an interest in her. She is holding him at arm's length, and we learn about her past. And this is all letter format. And I think this is a really good one for people that don't typically like epistolary novels, because you forget that there's a letter being written and you are really into the story that is being told. So I like the theme of the story. And I like that even though the main character is protecting herself and she's protecting her child, she never loses her sense of kindness and her sense of duty. It's an interesting marriage of those things. So if you were wanting to find just a few books that maybe you haven't read before, those would be my top 3 picks for Epistolary January, my recommendations. I hope you read a lot and join us in January. Bye-bye.